Shouty brain.
Hello, welcome to episode 5 of Shouty Brain with me, Trevor Holland. Quick question. How fucking hard is it to record a podcast and actually make it sound normal? How many times am I going to have to fucking do this and it go tits up and I don't know what to do about it and can't do anything about it because it's already happened? And once again, I'm not a time traveler because for fuck's sake, I've just gone through to edit this episode and I sound mental. And not even in the way that we all know I am. I come across like this all the way through the episode, and there's absolutely nothing I can do about it. I'm having a fucking nightmare with the platform I'm using, and I'm having a crisis with it. I wanted to just take my laptop, chuck it out the window, fully yeet it out of existence into the void, but I can't do that because I have commitments and I've decided to make a podcast, and this is a really good episode, really good conversation, and I just wanted to quit the whole thing and move to Ecuador, but I can't. I've got to do it. So you're going to get it. You're going to get the episode. It sounds like dog shit from my side once again. But my guest this week, Lisa Kelly, wonderful guest. She sounds pristine as fuck. Of course she does. I sound like horse shit. So you're going to have to just listen to it, I guess, and try to enjoy it and tolerate it. I think at some point, maybe 2/3 through the episode, my voice starts to sound normal. I have no idea. Like I've said before, I'm not a complete Luddite. Not a complete one, but I cannot make head nor tail of this. I cannot do it. So either it's going to require some significant changes or it's going to continue to be this kind of lucky dip of quality each time. It is what it is. But this week, my guest, as I mentioned, is Lisa Kelly, a fantastic guest from the United States of America. She was recently diagnosed with autism about a month ago at the age of 50, which is similar to my own experience, having only been diagnosed about a month ago myself, but being 8 years her junior. But that's not relevant to this conversation. But she's a really, really interesting person, really great conversation. It did get a little bit emotional at points, but I think it was an important conversation to have around grief and loss, around the lost time element of a late diagnosis. So please enjoy Lisa. Once again, please just try to tolerate the horror show that is my audio, and just sympathize with the fact that I'm a poor, lowly, idiotic, middle-aged man who doesn't know his arse from his elbow from a technical point of view. Enjoy! Hey, Lisa.
Hi.
Welcome to Shouty Brain. Thank you very much for coming on to see me.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. So how are you doing today?
Very good. Very good. A little nervous to be on my first podcast, but I'm so happy to be here.
Well, it couldn't be any more fortuitous for you because you've come onto a podcast that has very few listeners. So you're fine. So Lisa, I stumbled across your profile on Instagram, and one thing that immediately captured my attention was the fact that you were very recently diagnosed with autism at the age of 50.
Yes. I turned 50 in May and got diagnosed in June. And it's been just about a month since my official diagnosis.
And I think that's what interested me the most, because
Yes.
I was diagnosed around the same time. And we'll get into it in a minute, but that's been quite the journey for me over the last month or so. So I think what I'd like to start off with, seeing as you've reached the age of 50 not knowing what it is that's different about you. You weren't able to define it, and now you are able to define it. So I want to know a little bit about what led you to seeking out the diagnosis at this stage in your life, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Of course. So, I mean, my entire life, I always knew something was different, but I think just the past year leading up to turning 50 was very reflective of my life and how much I had struggled thus far and just kind of thought that I need to figure this out. I don't want to continue another 30, 40, if I'm lucky, another 50 years. Just struggling so hard. And for me, the not knowing why I struggled so hard was almost as bad as the struggle itself. And I just, having been diagnosed with depression in my 20s and then panic disorder and anxiety like between my 30s and 40s,
Mm.
um, I just wanted answers because to me in my gut, I knew there was something more to the story that I was missing. And I think it was just being middle-aged and about to turn 50. And like, I finally want answers, and that was it. I had had enough, and I was determined to find what I knew there was a missing puzzle piece somewhere, and I needed to
Mm.
find that. And it kind of like on the first try, I even think I not fought, but I was adamant that, oh, I can't be autistic because I think everybody sees me as so normal. And even though I have always felt on the inside, I knew something wasn't normal. Um,
Mm.
so it was, I also thought I've never officially had been diagnosed with OCD, but I have such rigid routines and behaviors that I have to do the same way every single day. And I mistook that for OCD.
Right.
So when the therapist that diagnosed me was like, no, that's not OCD, I was like, are you sure? And here I'm telling the expert, like, no, but OCD is very fear-based and
Mhm.
very, if I don't do this routine or behavior, something horrible will happen. I don't have that at all. For me, it's everything is regulating my nervous system. I need
Right.
that routine or predictability, or I'm not fearful. I just do not feel regulated. I cannot relax. I cannot move on to another task until that routine is done.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So in terms of where the idea that you may be autistic, where did that come from? Did that come from your own research, or did it come from maybe the your therapist was leading the conversation? How did that come about to actually being assessed for autism?
So I actually worked for a nonprofit, doing like human resources work and payroll. And they took care of people with special needs, and a lot of those people had autism. And by default, working there, I kind of just learned some more general information about autism, and just with it becoming more available, like on the internet and being on Instagram, and in my research of trying to thinking I could fix myself when I thought it was anxiety and panic disorder and depression. I thought, man, if I can figure out where this is coming from, why I have this, I can make it go away. I
Mm.
did not know it was autism at the time and that I was autistic, and there is no making it go away.
No.
Um, but it it was there was a lot of like just readily more information become available. And then, if you click on one video about, say, autism, now you get 100 more. And every time I was like, wow, I really relate to that. That happens to me. Oh my God. Like, it was
Mm.
reading a book about myself. And I
Mm.
thought, is this the piece I've been missing? Is this it? Could I be autistic after 50 years of struggling through life? Could it be this simple answer? And then with autism, even thinking like, oh, it can't be that simple. And then I started researching autism to death for months and months. And I I almost didn't want to believe it because I was like, it couldn't have been that simple this whole time. But
Mm.
but it all just made the simplicity of it. is what made sense, is what brought everything together. Every single piece, the anxiety piece, the depression piece, the, what I mistook for OCD, the need for rigid routines and behaviors piece, like autism just, it's like the glue that put all those pieces together.
Mm. So it was your thinking, it was your idea to approach am I autistic rather than someone else coming up with the idea. So it was, so you thought, you did some research and you thought, this sounds like me, let's see if that is the case. So that's how that came about, is it? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, yeah. And then so it wasn't, yes, I said, let's see. I wanted to, I knew there was something more to it. And I saw a therapist in my 20s when I originally got my first diagnosis of depression, and that wasn't a good experience for me. So I never ever wanted to go back. I've never I got diagnosed with panic attacks because a panic attack landed me in an emergency room. I thought I was having a stroke because my panic attacks are so severe that I get like paralyzed. So I didn't know what was happening to me, and I ended up in an emergency room, and it turns out it was a panic attack. And then, so it was never like that I sought out therapists because of just the bad experience I had with them in my 20s. But my life brought me to those to those steps. So when it came to wanting to know if I had autism, I did a lot of research, again, like months of research. And it's very difficult too to find anybody that will diagnose you with autism when you're as old as I am. When you get a little older, there's not really a specialty, if you will, for late diagnosed autism or ADHD. So I sought somebody out, and luckily they were extremely kind and made me feel comfortable, and they were very helpful because, again, I almost didn't want to believe I was autistic. I thought that there was going to be some other label that they would give me, whether that was maybe like I'm bipolar or something, because I can go from one extreme to the next in like a blink of an eye. You probably know, you're fine 1 minute, one wrong smell, noise, one extra conversation in the room, anything, any little thing, and you're like, that battery, someone flips the switch off and you're done. So again, like, autism looks like so many different things, but and it's not just one thing. It's not just two of those things. That's not what makes up. You have to have all of the things to meet the autism criteria. And I have all of those things and then some.
I think it's one of the biggest tragedies about it is the fact that depending on your care needs, it's so difficult to identify autism people.
Yes.
With it being such a spectrum of things that some people find more difficult than others, and because of how good we are at masking, it's a talent that I didn't know I had.
Yes. Yeah. I'm still learning what masking even is. And I definitely know I do it. That was a big thing too this last year, reflecting leading up to 50, is realizing, imagine being 50 years old and looking back and realizing you don't really know who you are because you've been pretending to be a million other people, which, I was kind of thinking the other day that what a beautiful thing to try to look at it as. There's so many people that I admire, whether it's like somebody famous, whether it's just a random person I come across online that I just admire for any reason. And just to have like a mixture of a bunch of people's personalities that you admire, that you almost look up to, but I mean, that's beautiful, but it's not your own. So it's like coming into 50 and realizing I don't know who I am because I've just been, you're almost like a chameleon when you're autistic, because
Yeah.
you figure out, oh, with this group of people or with this person, uh, you just adopt to their personality. If you're with a different group of people, you kind of adopt to them. Like it's this constant chess game of where do I fit in? And you
Yeah.
never think, well, let me figure out who I am and let people fit in with me. Like I never had that mentality. I was always like the people pleaser, like I'm
Right.
just going to act like this person so I fit in here, but no, then I'm going to go over here and try and fit in over here. And I almost, like, anybody that would accept me, I would go. And sometimes that was to my detriment, because
Mm.
especially when I was a teenager and maybe in my early 20s, I didn't come across or get accepted by the most honorable or best type of people, because again, I think being autistic, it's easy for people to also take advantage of you,
Right.
because there is this certain level of almost being naive with it,
Mm.
if that makes
Yeah.
sense. So I very easily could have and did kind of a couple times get myself into some trouble just trying to fit in with not the best group of people. But luckily I got older and I learned my way out of that. Um, but that's another thing, is struggling with friendships. When
Yeah.
I've never really had a lot of friends. I've never really, again, not knowing who you are, or what your personality is, because you're always trying to be someone different. I always tried to dress like, I didn't even know what my own style was, like trying to dress like other people, look like other people, try to dress like my peers. At 50 years old, I think a lot of people expect you to look a certain way at 50. But I feel like this childlike wonder inside of me, and I want to dress like almost like fun, and it's almost like you're too old. You get a lot of like, you're too old for that. You're too old to be dressing like that. You're too old to be acting like that. You're too, especially at 50. But I have this like whimsical, just, like I still in my brain wish I was 8 years old and could play with dolls, and people wouldn't find that odd at my age, but they definitely would.
Yeah. It's interesting about friends. I've found I don't have any difficulty making friends at all. I have lots of difficulty having them, but not getting them.
Mm.
I can make friends with people quite easily. I mean, when I was a kid, you would say certainly that I was shy, actually, definitely shy, to the point of the level of introversion was actually, yeah, I remember just spending so much time just trying to build up the courage to walk up to the counter in a shop, to speak to the person behind the counter, to ask for some stamps or whatever it was. I would do laps of the shop for half an hour, 45 minutes, just looking suspicious as hell doing it, just so I could say, could I have some stamps, please? Where actually they're thinking, how much of my shit is this guy stealing at the moment?
Yes. Oh my
But
God. Yes.
but
Yep.
somehow I would gravitate towards. I never had big groups of friends. I'd normally have one or two main friends. I'd gravitate toward one person or two people,
Yes.
and we would get on like a house on fire, and we'd become BFFs almost immediately. But then keeping the momentum going in those relationships became more challenging. Once I got out of junior school and went into high school, it became more difficult and more complicated because there tended to be more groups of people rather than this is my friend. It's like, this is my friend from this group, this is my friend from that group. But now in my 40s, I mentioned it in my first episode, I think, I've got people that I would consider friends. And in fact, the first two guests I had on the podcast were two people I would say are my friends, both neurodiverse, so both very understanding the fact that we're never going to talk to each other, but we're still friends. But my best friend, whom I've been best friends with since I was 12 years old, so 30 years, we were living in each other's pockets for years and years and years. But I found it more and more difficult to. I felt I was spreading myself too thin. It's because the more as you grew up, the more responsibilities came about, the less energy you had for your friends.
Yes.
Right. So this friend of mine, Douglas is his name. I haven't seen him face to face in over a decade. In the time that I haven't seen him, he has had several children, and at this point I don't know how many, because I've never met any of them.
Yep.
The last time I spoke to him on the phone, I was drunk out of my mind, and it was about 3 years ago. Other than that, we send each other a text every few months, and it's as far as our friendship goes. And part of me is heartbroken by that, because I don't think he's ever going to really understand that has no bearing on how much I love him at all.
Wow.
It
Yes.
just is the level that I'm capable of doing this, because I've got my life here. I've got my wife, I've got my cat, I've got my job, I've got all this stuff which I love. And as much as it pains me to say it, I don't have enough capacity to also hang out with friends. I just can't.
Yes.
If I do that, and something else has got to go.
Yeah,
and I'm not
yeah.
letting go of anything else.
Yeah.
Do you feel the same?
100,000,000%. It's I always say, like, being autistic is a major contradiction. Like, I can remember in high school wanting to be so popular, but not having the mental capacity of, like you said, more than one or two friends at a time. And then the not knowing almost how to, like, socialize with them, the pressure, the having to make plans is a lot. Like, there's so people just think, oh, it's a friendship, it's effortless. But nothing to an autistic person is effortless. Even the most minor day-to-day details take so much effort for us. So, like you said, trying to maintain friendships, and again, you hit a really important point, is as you get more and more responsibilities, as you get older, it becomes harder, because you have less energy. Every day-to-day thing takes so much energy. So, like, just it sounds like you might be like me, like you work a full-time job, so
Yeah.
that's almost all I can handle in a week. So I literally have one friend that I have a lot of acquaintances. I have a lot of people that, you know, I, I give love to from afar, that I do have so many people in my life that I love, but it is a shame that I don't have the capacity or energy to keep up with all of those people or those things. Um, but yeah, so I definitely feel the same way for, like, trying to maintain friendships, or even like my family. Like, my family has learned that, not to overwhelm me. Like, they cannot call me and be like, hey, we're going out in a half an hour, do you want to come meet us? I will spiral out and crash out. And it's because that feeling of, like, oh my God, yes, of course, I love my family, I want to go, but I need, like, 2 weeks to a month to plan if you you expect me
Yeah.
to do something. There was this meme I came across one time that said, like, I like to do nothing, so if you expect me to do something, I need 6 months in advance or anything. And I'm like, an autistic person must have came up with that meme, because yes, like, I need there is nothing I can do like by the seat of my pants. I need planning. I need to know the when, what, why, how before I do anything. And that might be different for somebody with ADHD or that has both, such as yourself, because from my understanding, like the ADHD side, which I don't think I have at all, is the like I'll fly by the seat of my pants side. And that must butt heads with your I need planning side, right? Like that to me is interesting. I struggle enough with just autism and not having that other half fighting with it. So that must be unreal.
It, yeah, yeah. It's so hard to explain. It's hard to even understand for myself, but it really is too battling hard of me who want different things.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the things that they want can be symbiotic. They can work together on certain things, like people with ADHD and people with autism can have sensitivities to certain sensory input. So there's a Venn diagram and there is lots of crossover, but there are some diametrically opposed traits that should not coexist in the same brain. And I never know whether I'm coming or going. And I am so tired,
Yeah.
Lisa. I'm so tired. But yeah, so the thing that has always broken my heart a little bit, speaking about friends a bit more, is I've lost friends more than I can count. And it's a contradiction and it's maybe a little bit difficult to explain, but I loved being invited to things. I so often agreed to go to them and then would, as people like us tend to do, it gets closer and closer to the reality of that thing. And then you find a way to wriggle out of it somehow. But I found myself doing that so much that people stopped inviting me.
Yes.
And when people stopped inviting me, I was really pissed off that I was no longer being invited. But then I would get an invite and I'd be like, oh, leave me alone.
That's what I'm saying. That was like when I tend to like start answering a question and my brain trails off into like something completely different. But when I was saying how like, yeah, my mom and brother, like my family has learned not to invite me to things last minute, it's the same thing. And that, but so like they have learned over time, oh my goodness, like if I invite her and she hasn't had enough notice, it's going to upset her. And it is because of that contradiction of wanting to go and join in and feel like you're included, but not having the capacity or enough time to mentally prepare to do that thing. So now it's when I find out that my brother and mother and they did something without me, it does kind of break my heart. I'm like, why didn't I get invited? And then I'm like, oh yeah, because my mom knows that if she invited me, I'd crash out because so it's like
I feel like there needs to be a way, an acceptable way of announcing it. So if the day comes where you're like, I feel ready to be invited to something today. So you tell the world on Instagram or Facebook, or you'll text everyone in your phone book to say, I am open for invitations today.
Yes.
But then a list of conditions of I'll think about it if conditions A through to Z or Z are met, and you give me an opportunity to do some comprehensive research, or ideally send me a PowerPoint presentation about the place you want to go to. And then I'll think about it, but there's still a chance I won't. But as things stand right now, I'd be okay with someone inviting me somewhere.
Yes. Oh my God, yeah. We need like a Yeah, like a notification setting of like, I am open to plans today or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but with like certain, yeah, but then it depends on what those plans are. It depends on how long we're going to be out. Is it like so I've been in about a 15-year relationship myself. And my boyfriend like would loves to go on like drives and would just love to hop in a car and go just drive around endlessly.
Mhm.
I can't do that. There have been times where I will have a full-blown panic attack just trying to go out and have a lovely day because I'm like, well, where are we going? I don't know. How long are we going to be gone? Where are we stopping? Like, if I don't know every single detail of like how I can't just go out willy-nilly. Like I need to know everything. And that's, you know, I f- I feel like it must be difficult because he's um not neurodivergent.
Mhm.
So I feel bad. I think it must be really difficult for him to be with somebody like me that can't, be what's the word I'm looking for? Like spontaneous. There is
Mhm.
no spontaneity in this human form whatsoever. I need to know
Hmm.
everything, and I think that's sad. Like my family, it's a huge thing in our family where like when it's big birthdays, like 40th, 50th, anything like that, they do huge surprise parties. And my mom was like, "We cannot do a surprise party for Lisa. She'll have a panic attack." Like if I walked into a room full of people, no, nope, can't do that. So it's there is like a lot like there's a lot of like people can't treat you the same way as they would everybody else. Um,
Yeah. I think I think this might be an ADHD combination thing as well. But I generally feel that I am open to experiences. I feel like I'm quite. I wouldn't go as far as say adventurous, but I am open to experiencing new things. But what I think neurotypical people don't appreciate is the reason why we ask so many questions is because of how draining the wrong environment will be,
mhm,
and how difficult being it will be.
mhm.
So you shouldn't have to ask, is the place, for a neurotypical person, is the place we're going to make you take your shoes off at the door, and is the floor going to be covered in broken glass? Because that is potentially the extent of how uncomfortable it could be for us.
Yes.
So if you're thinking about taking me to a restaurant or going to a restaurant, I'm not just going to want to know about the menu. I'm going to know about the route to the table from the entrance. I'm going to need to know whether I'm going to need to awkwardly shuffle past people who are sitting eating. I'm going to need to know where the toilets are. I'm going to need to know how far away the kitchen is and whether it's likely to be quite noisy. I'm going to need to know what sort of what sort of warmth the lights are, and whether there's any chance they're going to be fluorescent because I might be able to hear them. Um, and I also need to know what the seats are made of. Are they going to be cushioned? Are they going to be hard wood? Are they going to have armrests? Or am I going to be able to hang a jacket over the back of it? Or is it going to be a slightly different shape? Is it going to be like a booth arrangement where I've got to work out what part of the booth I want to be in? What's the floor made of? Is it squeaky? Is it shiny? Is it too shiny or not shiny enough?
Right.
Um, does the table have a chance where it's going to slightly wobble if you lean on it the wrong way? I need to know all of that.
Yes.
And so now, however much information they give you about a place, it's never enough information.
No, no, and that's the thing is that like for I I always hate to say like normal people because
Mhm.
is anybody ever really normal? But like
Mm.
imagine just somebody being like, "Hey, you want to go to dinner?" And that person doesn't have any thought other than, "Yeah, dinner sounds nice." Like
Yeah.
for us, like you said, it's this process of like, uh, you know, I don't know, for me being a girl, even before thinking about going to that restaurant for that analogy, it's like, "Oh my god, what am I gonna wear? What,"
Right.
"what makeup am I gonna do? What colors is this? What bag am I gonna bring? What," like, like, even before that, then where's the parking gonna be? How am I gonna be able
Mm.
to find it? Is it that, like, the instant process of that, it's crazy. And you might, with having autism too, like, and that sense for routine, it's like talking about the dinner thing. I have this big elaborate routine after work, and then I have to cook dinner, and then I clean up after dinner, and this and that. And for a normal person, imagine coming home from work at the end of a long day, and your partner being like, or you come home from work and your wife is like, "Hey, Trevor, you know, let's go out for a nice dinner tonight. You just worked hard all day. Let's go out. Doesn't that sound nice? And you won't have to clean the kitchen. You won't have to cook." To a normal person, that sounds fantastic. If I come
Mhm.
home from work and my boyfriend is like, "Hey, babe, let's go out for dinner tonight." Instant, like, panic and almost like anger.
Mm.
Not angry at the suggestion, but, like, just almost like, "What do you mean? I gotta do my routine. I've been expecting for 8 hours while I was at work. I was gonna come home, I was gonna feed the dogs, I was gonna put on my bathrobe, get into my pajamas, get comfy, watch TV, do." And if that was my plan all day long, nope. Like, if you suggest anything outside of that, it's like instant panic, and again, that, like, anger. And then, and it's so rigid that you can't do anything outside of the ordinary if you weren't planned. And again, that's gotta be tough, because then I think
Yeah.
he feels like, "Did I just do something wrong by trying to, like, suggest a very nice, like,
Yeah,
relaxing
because it's
dinner out?" And it's so hard to explain to them that
mm.
my brain just can't shift like that. If I was in, like, I would have needed to know 3 days ago that you planned for us to go out to dinner tonight after work. Like, I can't. It's frustrating. It's very frustrating, but that's what I'm learning with my diagnosis is, like, before I would be like, "Why am I like that? Why, like, that doesn't make sense. Yes, of course I wanna go out for a nice dinner, but why is my body saying, no, no, you can't go out to dinner." And but
Mm.
now I understand. So it's the diagnosis has done a lot of good for me. And, like, now I completely understand, because I'm not going to get to do my routine now. Maybe, hey, if I give you 20 minutes to do your routine, maybe we can go out to dinner after that. How does that, there is a level of, I think, like, compromise, especially when you have a partner too, that maybe can be done. But it's hard. It's hard when it is something within you that can't be fixed. It's just who you are. I can't do last minute plans like that. And that's just
Mm.
something that I'm learning to accept about myself, where before diagnosis, I would almost hate myself and be like, "Why? Why are you like this?" And now I get it.
I think that comes with being on the part of the spectrum that we're on, and I don't know you very well, but I feel like we may be in a similar part of it, in the sense that we are very self-aware, and I don't want to speak ill of anybody else, but there may be people on other parts of the spectrum, with higher care needs, who maybe don't see another way. They're so just their difficulties are so all-encompassing that they don't understand that there even is an alternative way of thinking.
Right, right. I know how,
Um,
yeah, there is a certain level of privilege, I think, when, like, for me, I'm level 1 autistic. I don't have very many care needs from the outside world. And
mm,
I look at that as a blessing and a privilege that, because I don't have a lot of those needs from the outside world, and I can care for myself and live on my own. I have this level of freedom that not every autistic person has to be able to do that. But on the other hand, that that does come with a price. That comes with a
Mm,
price that, I would say, 4 to 5 nights a week, I have full-blown meltdowns, and that's the price I pay for having that freedom, if you will, I guess. Like, yes, I can get on and mask long enough to get through a job and do a good job and
mm,
actually even somewhat excel at a career. Um, but that that comes at a cost of, you know, by the time I get home from work, if my boyfriend even asks me a question like, "Hey babe, what do you want for dinner?" That could cause a complete meltdown because I I am at my limit for the day. Me working that job to give me that freedom is about all I can take. And that's
mm,
why trying to have the friendships, trying to maintain a relationship, trying to keep up with family outside work everything else is such a struggle because I have to put all that energy into that job that gives me the freedom.
mm. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just trying to remember the thing I was about to say. This is the first time it's happened today, and it was. I think, yeah, it's about resentment for me, and
Mm,
I resent my now. I'm trying not to be too apologetic these days because it's part of my process, of my part of my journey. But I am sometimes arrogant about my own intelligence and whatever. But I resent my own intelligence sometimes, because I have the capacity to analyze such a level.
mhm,
Because I have the capacity to see, because of maybe the masking and lots of mirroring that I did, and just self-defense in terms of how to infiltrate situations and appear normal, um, I can see things from every conceivable angle. I'm a diplomat. People would often accuse me of playing devil's advocate in a conversation because
yes.
I can always see the other side of the argument. But I resent that about myself sometimes because it complicates my own life to be intelligent, because I have to think about everything and I have to see things from a wider POV.
Yeah.
And it makes me, and this makes me sound horrible, but it makes me jealous of people who have slightly less complex minds,
Mhm.
let's say.
Yes.
Uh, because you look at the, the bliss of ignorance sometimes and think, that's got to be quite nice, just to be completely mindless. I'm not talking about people on the spectrum. I'm talking about the normies who are
Right.
stupid. um,
The
it's like
the ones who
it's
don't
got to be
realize
nice.
there's so many more things to, like you said, like,
Yeah,
yeah, playing devil's advocate is a huge thing. Like, I do think that I'm always trying to look at things from all sides. Like, yeah, did you think of this? And a lot of times people don't like that about you because they almost think you're trying to change their minds. But it's
yeah,
it's it's not like it's not that I'm trying to change anybody's mind, but it comes into us like where we're over processing things. So we want to look at things from every angle. We want to research the most
yeah,
minor things to death almost.
yeah. I've had people in my life who have accuse me of not being supportive enough. I know that this is something that's prevalent in males as well, about the fix it mentality, rather than the just listen and absorb and be there for someone you want to fix, and you all have a solution to something. I think it's even worse for me, or worse for my wife, I would say, probably. But that I've had people, they'll tell me a thing that they're upset about, and they might accuse me of being unsupportive when I present an alternative way of thinking about it. But I'm not trying to diminish the way that person's feeling. But what I'm trying to do is you're justified in what you're feeling, but have you considered the way this person's feeling? Why? And the reason they may have done that is because of this. And because I want to keep the peace, and I want this person to realize that maybe it's not quite what they thought. Doesn't mean what you're feeling isn't justified. It just means maybe think about the reason. But people don't always want to hear that. And the thing is, I get it, but I still think I'm right. I still think I'm right. You need to think about things.
Yes. And we think we're so right too, because keep in mind, we probably spent so much time researching that very thing to death. If it's something we had time to, look into and everything, like everything, even it's so silly, but even something like I'm learning in my trying to unmask, and like a big thing for me, again, maybe it's because being a woman and just someone who always being into fashion and everything, but like trying to find my own sense of style or unmasking and things like that. I like something as simple as wanting to buy a pair of sunglasses. I'll spend like a month
Right.
researching sunglasses before I can just buy a simple pair of sunglasses. What?
Yeah, it's true.
There's so much effort behind everything. It's insane, and to the outside world, nobody sees that. Nobody sees, what the wheels turning up here.
But I think that also, reinforces what I was saying about being self-aware, because it's not like I don't know. I feel like it's crazy too, the thing that I'm doing.
Oh,
I
yes.
think the thing that I'm doing is insane.
Yep.
It doesn't change whether I can actually do anything about that.
Right.
But I know that I am being batshit crazy
Y-
right now
Yep.
in the way that I'm acting.
Yes.
This is not rational behavior. This is not something that you deserve.
Yes.
Using my wife as example, you don't deserve someone to be this neurotic about this.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be like this, but I am like this, and I can't do anything about it, and I wish I
Yes.
could.
That's like my nightly routine of that again, that I mistook for many years as OCD. Like when I get home from work, me having to go through my entire house and opening kitchen drawers, like making sure all my knives and forks and spoons are still in the same place. Like that sounds so much like OCD, right? Like I know my inanimate objects have not moved themselves all day long while I was at work, but my nervous system doesn't feel regulated until I check, like, my environment, everything needs to be where it belongs in its place, and I need to know that before I can sit and just, like, relax for the day. And again, it's with OCD, it comes from a place of fear, or if I don't open this drawer, my dog's gonna die, or so, like, that's OCD, the need for doing it because you have intrusive thoughts.
Yeah.
And that's OCD. That I don't do that. It's my routine, and I need to do that routine every single day when I get home from work, or I can't relax. I know nothing horrible is going to happen, but my nervous system does not physically, like, I can feel it if I don't open that kitchen drawer to make sure everything's like, and it's a routine, and it's like the whole house. I just have certain things, and I have to do it when I go to work too. It's again, I have like a routine when I get to work. I have a little routine when I get home. I have a little routine when I get up. And if anything throws me off of that routine, it's just sheer panic and anger.
It all comes down like a house of cards
Yes.
almost immediately.
Yep.
The whole rest of the
Immediately.
day is,
Yeah.
yeah, the whole rest of the day is ruined.
Yeah.
Even if it's the first thing you've done, even if it's 6 a.m., first thing you're doing that day in your long list of things
Mhm.
doesn't quite go to plan, everything
Yep.
else is gone.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Pure and utter meltdown mode. Yep. Yep. And again, it's being a 50-year-old woman and having meltdowns like a child. It's 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 so embarrassing. I mean, fortunate enough, like I kind of can hold those things together long enough through my day where luckily I can wait till I get home and I'm almost alone to just completely crash out by myself. Again, that's part of, I think, being that level 1 autistic of just uh, and I have been in public situations out in the open where I have not been able to keep my shit together and I just have a complete panic attack or meltdown in public, and that is the most humiliating, embarrassing thing in the world. But if it's not something so extreme, if I can hold it in to a point where I can, hold it and till I get home by myself and kind of melt down in my own safe environment, then that's what I do. But it's I think a lot of people see the like happy, bubbly, smiling person. And I've done a lot, like I sometimes wonder if this is a mask, but I think it's just who I am. I like to be a very smiley and happy, bubbly person, but I think that it's people see that and they cannot even comprehend how many times I come home and I'm crashing out, melting down, panicking. Like nobody would, I don't think, even think that that happens to me. And that's kind of where like the very like the loneliness of autism comes in, is that you kind of feel like you don't want people to see that side of you, but the fact that nobody knows that side of you exists feels so lonely. That's another like autism contradiction of like, I don't want, and it's not that I want people to know that to feel sorry or give me empathy, but it just feels like people don't know the real you. It's not about looking for, again, that sympathy or empathy, but it's just nobody really knows who you are because there's so much you have to hold in and suppress that you don't show the real world, that it starts to feel very lonely.
Yeah, it does. I people that don't know me very well assume that I'm one of the most laid back people they've ever met. I've got quite a I think quite a relaxed way of speaking. But some people see it as that. Others who might be a bit more switched on will think you're quite flat and considered. People see me speaking slowly and think that I'm relaxed. Other people might see I speak slowly because I'm thinking so carefully about the thing I'm about to say. So I think my point is that people think I'm really chilled out, and they would be shocked to realize quite how much of my energy is spent thinking and considering and planning and rehearsing.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Oh, the
Um,
rehearsing. Oh my god. I don't know about you, but like there is a 20, it never shuts off. I'm always having like practice conversations in my brain. Like it never stops. Like when I'm at work all day, every day when I leave work, I call my mom and have a conversation with my mom on the car ride home. So when I'm at work, I'm practicing the conversation I'm going to have with my mom on the car ride home. Then I'm practicing the conversation. What am I going to talk about my boyfriend with when he gets home from work? Then tomorrow at work, what's going to be, and next week, oh, and Trevor asked me to be on his podcast. I got to start practicing conversations right now for this. And it's like
yeah,
practicing them in the mirror, practicing when I'm trying to go to bed at night. It's never ending. Like there's never not something up here going on.
absolutely. And it's not it's not all. It doesn't end when the conversation has happened.
No.
So the thing that you're practicing and rehearsing for, because you'll very forensically plan the interaction, then the interaction happens, and then you'll spend the rest of your life debriefing yourself about that conversation.
Yes.
Literally the rest of your life.
There's still conversations from 1993 I'm probably trying to debrief in my brain, so.
Yeah. And there are a million different ways you could have done it better
Yeah.
after the fact,
Yeah.
which is frustrating because for someone who's rehearsed as much as you,
Mm-hmm.
you would have thought you would have done a better job at it than you did.
All the rehearsing does no good because as soon as that person is actually in front of you, like, it all goes out the window anyways, because now you're not trying to recall that brilliant, eloquent conversation you had by yourself in your head. Now you're thinking, am I fidgeting? Am I looking at this person in the eyes? How am I looking? Is my shirt okay? Is my hair like, then when you're in the conversation, you can't even focus on the conversation.
No, you have no idea what they've said. I was thinking, oh shit,
Smile
what's
and
the...
nod, smile and nod.
But then what if they've just told me something really bad? I'm like, you just go, just the usual kind of, oh man, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. But then someone's just told us that their dog's being run over. But you're like, I know, right? It's crazy.
Yeah.
And you think,
Yeah.
oh shit, I haven't listened to a word of that.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah.
I have no idea what they've just said. I want to touch on the aftermath, if we could just swerve slightly, because I know the aftermath of the diagnosis, and I must apologise if this is shown on camera. I'm so hot, I'm sweating a lot, and I can't have my fan on because it's too noisy for the microphone. So that's why I'm fidgeting so much, because I'm sweating. But I had quite the unexpected fallout when I had my diagnosis, in terms of the kind of roller coaster I spent the next 3 or 4 weeks on. Even though I'd spent the last 15 years of my life being fairly adamant that I was autistic and being frustrated that the professionals didn't see it that way. So even though I was fairly sure I was autistic, the actual impact it had when I was diagnosed was so much more than I anticipated, because I thought, well, it's just going to be a formality of and all I'm going to do is feel validated. All I'm going to do is feel heard, and that will be great. It will be brilliant. I can close the book on that, because I will then have the validation, or have it in black and white, that the thing I thought was the case is the case. I thought that was going to be the beginning and end, but it was far more nuanced experience than that. What was your experience once you received your diagnosis? And it's only been about a month. So what have you been going through in that period, and where are you now?
You saying it's been like a roller coaster? It's been like a roller coaster. I mean, the first week was definitely the worst of it. I mean, there was this instant sense of validation and almost relief of, like, I have known for 30 years that there's been more to this story, and that like finally having that last puzzle piece that was missing. There was that, but also there was a lot of course, had I known 20, 30, 40 years ago how different my life could have been. um would I have more friends? Would I feel like I would have had a more fulfilling life had I known? There was so many years of struggling and not understanding why. Especially around the panic disorder, because there was a time in my life I literally was becoming agoraphobic. I could not physically leave my house. That was probably about 10-ish years ago.
Mm.
I couldn't go anywhere, not even the places I loved. Like, I couldn't even go see my tattoo artist without having a panic attack, and that was like my second home, you know? Um, so there was a lot of, man, could the last 30, 40 years of my life been easier? Had I known sooner, I could have accommodated myself better. Um, I s I don't wanna cry and get choked up, but I spent so many years hating myself for
Right.
the way that I was, because I didn't understand myself. And I took that misunderstanding for hatred of myself. And that was very difficult. There was some very dark times in my life, because not because of sadness, like, that's another thing, with autism. Like, you can have the most beautiful life. I've always had people that loved me. I've always had, you know, all these amazing things, a nice life, like, in the grand scheme of things. Like, I've
Mm.
never really had to, have these big worries. Like, I've always kind of had an, I guess, like, an easy roadmap, if you will, a map laid out for me. And that's the thing. It's like, when from the outside world, life looks so easy, but you're at a war with yourself. That's
Mm.
hard. You don't understand, like, a lot of people that, have panic attack, of it's because they've suffered serious traumatic events. And I've been fortunate
Mm.
enough, not, I mean, I've lost a parent, I've had a miscarriage, but to me, though, that's nothing that not every single person on this earth has almost struggled with, right? I've never had anything out of the ordinary, I guess, like, to struggle with. So just, coming from a place of hating myself and not understanding who I was and getting that diagnosis, you know, I'm so grateful now that I can look back and know that, I was never broken. There was never really anything wrong with me, but I just to I struggle with feeling like I could have had that time back and been a lot kinder to myself for decades. Um and just having that understanding, I could have coped with life better. Maybe I wouldn't have had that period of time when I literally couldn't leave my house. It's tough to think that it could be easier, but I also, my mindset is, now I'm just going to look forward. I cannot do anything about the past. It is what it is, and I'm also a little spiritual, so I there is a part of me that, if you believe in spirituality, there is a little side of that, like, you chose this life, you chose to have these struggles. So I do find a little solace in that also, trying to think of, like, I chose this for a reason. I chose to be this person, to be here on earth, specifically to have these struggles, because my soul is trying to learn more about the human experience. So, I know that sounds a little woo woo to some people and everything, but it really helps me put it into perspective, the diagnosis of and trying not to dwell on that I chose this. I chose those struggles and everything, and I try to think there's a purpose for it. And that's it. But all in all, I think after diagnosis, a lot of relief, um and grief.
Thank you. I appreciate how honest. No, honestly, because it's a word, not a word that I wanted to hear, but it's a word that I'm glad I have heard, which is grief,
Mhm. Yeah.
because it's it's really a period of grief. And like you, I've lost a parent. The only person in my life who is of massive significance who I lost is my
Oh,
father.
me too. That's yeah.
Oh, really?
Yep. Yep.
I lost my father um, nearly 19 years ago.
Oh,
Um, um,
wow. He must have
and it
been
was
very young. My dad was 64, and it was about 14 years ago now.
he was 53. And there were, I wasn't expecting to talk about this, but it's fine. You know, I saw it. I watched it happen.
Mm,
And that's an image you never forget, especially if you're someone like us who, I'm not sure, actually, we haven't talked about this, but the level of recall about the very small details of a situation that you saw, that you witnessed, because it was a significant moment. So you remember every single thing about every sensory input of that moment.
hmm
You remember what everything looked like, what everything smelled like, you know. But the reason I brought it up is because that's the only time in my life where I really had to experience real grief and go through those stages of grief that we've all read about. Um, until a month ago, when I went through the very same stages over something intangible.
hmm
If it feels, again, I don't like using the word normal, but sometimes it's the only word you can think of. It feels normal to go through those stages of grief when you've lost someone that you love. But to try and reconcile feelings of grief about an abstract concept that was never there in the first place, but you thought was there, is very difficult to understand or explain.
Yes.
Um, but it really is grieving because it feels self-indulgent, but you do mourn for the lost time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, who knows the direction your life would have gone in had you known 30 years ago that you were autistic? Would your life be on the surface, the life you have now? Would you be as intelligent as you are now? Because would you have had to struggle through so many things and climb so many mountains
Mm.
and trudge through so much mud to get where you are and fortify yourself and strengthen your resolve? Would you be the person you are now if you'd known that before? I would argue maybe possibly not. So would you be in a worse position than you are now? So I think about stuff like that. Like it happened a lot with the ADHD diagnosis, which I received at 28. I'm 42 now. So at 28, I was diagnosed with ADHD, and I had the same experience then, which was all those opportunities I squandered. Imagine what would have happened if I hadn't squandered those opportunities.
Mm.
But if I hadn't squandered all those opportunities, I would not be living where I live, the wife that I have, with the career that I have, with all of the things that I've got in my life that I've accumulated that I love so
hmm
much. I wouldn't have any of them.
I love that outlook. I totally agree there. I have had the same exact flip side too of thinking like, well, if I did know earlier, like you said, would because I didn't know, I pushed myself. I kind of know now that I have autism that I almost shouldn't be pushing myself, but back when I thought it was only like panic disorder or anxiety or these other things, I thought, "Oh, I can push through that panic attack. I can push through this. I can figure that out. I'll do this and I'll work through that anxiety." And again, that push is what has made me so successful in life despite being autistic. So, I want there's this sense of like, would I have almost catered to myself and for this lack of a better term, like babied myself more had I known, or had I
Right.
not known, I meant to say, and, like, so because I didn't know, got me to where I am now, and so
Right.
I do love that positive, like, spin on it instead of, like, yeah, had I known, I would have understood and I would have been more sensitive with myself, but yeah, or there might not have been that drive to, like, "Oh, I'm gonna figure this out," like, I've always been, like, going back to kinda like school was so difficult for me because if it wasn't a subject or anything I wasn't interested in, I couldn't, like, absorb the information at all, um, but I have to wonder, like, had I known back then that I was autistic, I probably wouldn't have received, maybe the same education, like, nothing would be
Yeah.
the same, so I d it I do have to kinda, like, view it from that frame as well, and I like that positive spin that, yeah, we have to think of it that way.
But at the same time, my heart breaks for my younger self as well, because I was so lost and so alone, and I hated myself so much. I was so frustrated with myself. Why can't I get my shit together?
Mm,
Why am I not in a place society would expect me to be at this stage of my life? Um, I if there's one thing I could change, it would be putting my arm around myself and whispering in my own ear, "This is why you do this, and it's not your fault, and you have no reason to hate yourself for it. Please stop hating yourself,
yeah,
because it's not going to end anything positive,
yeah,
because you're so much better than you think you are, and your life is so much harder than you understand.
yes,
You're not lazy. You're not an underachiever. Do you have any idea how much you've achieved in spite of your shortcomings that you don't even know you've got?
yeah, yep,
You didn't have those shortcomings. Oh my God, you are a superhero. You are doing this stuff. They're doing same stuff that other people are doing, but they're ice skating their way through it.
yeah,
You're having to walk through 3 feet of mud to get to the same destination.
yes, yes, yeah, and you feel them, you know the mud's there, but it's like you don't have the right boots to get through the mud.
You don't know that you don't know that no one else has got the mud.
Right.
You're like, everyone's got
Yeah,
this, but I'm finding it harder because I'm
yeah,
lesser. But you don't realize that you're the only one in the fucking mud
yeah,
because everyone else is ice
yep.
skating. You're like, what the fuck?
But now we know we're in the mud, right? Now we know we're in the mud, and it doesn't make it any
And we can be
easier,
a bit,
but
but we can be a bit kinder to ourselves
yeah,
about it, though. We can feel less guilty about it, and we can feel um, a little bit more kind. So I'm going through the mud. It's a bit difficult. Maybe I'll take it a bit slow.
yeah,
I'm not going to try and rush through this mud to get to the place, because you're going to burn yourself out if you try. Just do it your own way, at your own pace. You'll still get
yeah.
there. You might meander and go through a slightly different route, but this is the way that you have to go to get there. So don't try to go there the way that other people do.
And if you just stop and sit down in the mud for a few minutes and look around, there's probably a beautiful view sitting there in the mud. Yep.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'm glad you talked about the grief side of things, because yeah, it really is something that needs to be talked about.
Yeah. And it's still, I mean,
Is
for us, it's only been about a month. So, I mean, I'm still having, I'll go through 2 or 3 days where everything feels good, and then, like, something will hit me, or I'll start to feel, panicky or anxious or something again, and I still, like, it's habit. I instantly go to like, "Why am I feeling this way?" And then I'm like, "Ding, oh, don't forget, you're autistic. You know you're autistic now. That's exactly why this is happening." And
Mm.
I can feel the judgment of myself, like, release as soon as I remember that. Like, you have to, like, it's still not fully sunk in yet. So I am still having days where, I go to that default of, "What's wrong with you?" And then I'm like, "Wait a minute. No, no, remember, there's nothing wrong with you. Don't," so
Mm.
it is. I'm still getting used to the idea that I
Yeah.
that I am autistic. And it's so funny because I wanted to ask you too, if, like, once I knew I was autistic, and once, like, my mom and family and the people closest to me knew, it's almost like now you can't unsee it.
Uh-huh.
It's like that, there's when you get a new car, or when you think of a particular car, all of a sudden you see that car everywhere on the road. It's like, now that I know I'm autistic, I'm seeing the autism in everything I do. And, like, even my mom, who, I think at first there was a little bit, I don't want to say she was, like, not, like, she wasn't denying that I was autistic, but I kind of started almost lightheartedly throwing it out there a year or 2 ago, when I started suspecting it, kind of like, I hate to say it, but almost like making a joke out of it, like, "Hey, I think I'm autistic." Like,
Mm.
and my mom would be like, "I never noticed any. You were always a fine child," but I always used to get described as shy, sensitive,
Mm.
but, so I think for parents, especially when you were born in the 70s, 80s, I never even heard the word autism. Never in my life did I hear of that back when I was younger or anything. So, no, we had no idea what that was when we were kids, but um
Well, autism is what we saw in the media. So for me, autism was Dustin Hoffman and Rain Man. That's all
mm,
autism was.
yes.
There wasn't any range to it. It was, you're a savant. If you're autistic, you're a savant.
Yes.
You're completely locked in, and you are a savant,
Yep.
but you cannot function in society.
Yes. Yes.
That's what my preconception was.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything else.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. I can identify it. Um, yeah, you're right. And um, it, in a way, it's easier because you understand why you're doing what you're doing. You can make your peace with it a lot more
Yes.
quickly, because you're not having. There are most things in life we will overanalyze, but this is one we no longer have to.
Right. Right.
So it's taken such a big weight off our shoulders to no longer have to analyze this behavior, because you know why you're doing it. You know you can't do anything about it, and you know that in all likelihood it will pass, and it's okay. So, like, I'm just being autistic right now. Fuck it, that's fine. Um, you know, cards on the table. I've had a bad day today.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nothing's happened. I've just had a bad
Yeah.
day for being overwhelmed.
Oh, yes.
And yeah, I've been in a really bad mood for most of the day. So tired and so overstimulated and so stressed. And I explained it to my wife earlier on, but I was getting so angry at every. I was. We like to go for a lot of walks, and I was going for a walk, and I could hear someone probably, I don't know, 50 meters behind, but I could hear them carrying their keys in their hands as they're walking.
Yeah.
So it was making a bit of a noise. And I was like, it needs to stop immediately. But everything that I was hearing today was amplified by 100 times, and everything I was feeling. So even now when I'm hot and sweaty, I can feel it on every part of my skin, and it's making me want to peel my skin
I
off.
can feel that. I'll tell you a quick funny story about that, because
Go
my
on.
we have 4th of July here in America, and that was last weekend.
Yeah.
And my me and my boyfriend went on a like little boat cruise on a lake where they were going to do fireworks and everything. And we went last year. And last year I had a pure panic attack before we got on the boat because I had no idea what to expect. It's not because I'm afraid of boats. It's not because I'm afraid of water. It's not, I knew the socializing. I was going to be trapped on a boat with a bunch of people I didn't know. So we went back this year. I did not have a panic attack this year because I knew what to expect on the boat from last year. But at one point on this boat trip, I was sitting in a chair, and another woman sat next to me, and her whole, and it's like, because it's hot, it's summer. So like you're clammy, you're sweaty, you're gross. And her whole arm leaned up against my arm because we were like, it was like tight quarters, and instantly ruined. Like in that instant, I went from having like, oh, we're having a decent time here. Okay, I'm handling all the noise and all the conversations and the smells and the this really well. And it just took that one thing, just that lady's arm touching my arm, because the sensory of like her sticky skin touching my toe. And then I could not recover. Like, so it really only takes like one thing sensory wise to ruin your entire day, and now everything else is like amplified. Now I as soon as that happened, then I couldn't handle all the conversations around me. I couldn't handle all the different smells. I couldn't handle, it was just too, it was too much. And I had to learn my lesson that maybe the boat cruise isn't the right thing for me. And I kind of had to tell the boyfriend that next year, maybe we're going to have to find something different to do for 4th of July, because it's just, it's too much. It's that something like that is too much. And it takes one tiny small thing that a normal person would be like, you let a woman's arm touch you, like ruin. Luckily I had like wet naps. I was like, ooh, wiping my arm off. I'm like, I need to go home and shower now. Like it's just the sensory of it. Instantly my flip got switched, and that was it for me.
Well, you're in life. You're 95% capacity all the time. It's never like you start every day with a clean slate, and you've got your bottle of what you can handle is never empty.
Yeah.
So it's not like all this stuff will happen and it will accumulate and accumulate and accumulate. But by the time it even gets to the point of being full, it started to settle on its own. But for us, every day we're at 95%. So it only takes one more thing to make our bottle explode.
Yes.
But we can feel perfectly happy because 95% is our default setting. So we're perfectly okay at 95%. Yep. Right. So we're like 95. That's a good day. But we're not taking into account the lady with the arm.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I will, and I'll feel that arm touching my arm for probably the next 20 years. I will never forget that feeling.
God. I think it's the worst is because, like you said at the beginning, it's a boat. There's no quick escape.
No.
Whenever there's anything that I'm not 100% sure I want to do, if the escape route is quite straightforward, and when I say escape route, I don't just mean getting out of there. I mean my escape route to getting home and in my pajamas on the couch.
Yes.
If that's a really straightforward transition and I don't have to talk to too many people for that to happen, then I'm like, cool. But to go on a boat, You can't just say, "I've had enough of
No.
this."
Nope, you cannot.
You're oh my.
Yeah. Yeah, that it I
No.
decided to after doing it 2 years in a row and just both times it being more like way more overwhelming. But that's, that's the other thing too that I am kind of proud of myself that I will give everything a good college try and learn. There's been a lot of things I've learned just aren't for me and I can't handle them and I can't do them and that has to be okay. I just have to accept that, in certain ways I am definitely limited. There are, like you said, there are some days when you're at 95% and you're having a really good day and on those days I almost question, am I really autistic? Like I'm having a really good day. Like I can't be autistic. But then yeah, put me in a room full of strangers or mention something, try to do something spontaneous or anything, and it's complete meltdown and rage. And it's like, oh yeah, yeah, I'm definitely autistic. I see it. It's back.
Ah, yeah, there it is. There it is.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah. Right. Well, listen, I'm going to have to wrap things up here because I am so hot.
Yes. Go get comfortable.
But so yeah, I'll say goodbye. But stay on for a second after I finish the recording. I have to cut this out explaining
Yes.
that. But Lisa, yeah. So we'll wrap things up here. But thank you so much. It's been so lovely to
You
talk to you.
too.
It's been
Thank
such
you.
a pleasure to hear your
Thank
story.
you so much for inviting me. It was exciting to do something new. Hey.
No, you're welcome. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Yeah, Lisa, thank you. Take care.
You too, Trevor. Thank you.
So that was Lisa Kelly. Hope you all enjoyed that, and I hope you were able to tolerate me. So if you enjoyed this if you enjoyed this podcast against all odds, then please do subscribe. Please leave a review. Be kind, because it's me. I'm a nice guy. Please follow me on my social media channels, on Facebook, on Instagram. Please follow me on my Substack. Please take a look at my Redbubble shop, where I've got all sorts of different designs around autism and neurodiversity. Just please feed back to me. Please comment. Please just get in contact with me, because it's a little bit lonely over here, if I'm being completely frank. I'm meeting some lovely guests, but you guys, wow, you're quiet. Just get involved. I'd love to hear from you. Go to shoutybrain.com and you'll see the links to all of the various bits and pieces. You'll get the links to the social media, the YouTube, the Substack, the Redbubble, all of it. And please wait a second. This is just the shit show I'm in. Please follow Lisa on Instagram. She's got a fantastic account, and her Instagram is at whimsical and autistical. I can't want to spell it for you. It's whimsical and autistical. It's going to be in the show notes. I could spell it out to you, but how much time have I got, really? But yeah, thanks to Lisa. Thanks to you for listening. We'll see you next week with another special guest, and who knows what it's going to sound like. What a time to be alive, guys. Take care. Shouty Brain.